welcome to WordCamp 2007. We are extremely delighted that you all made it out here so early on a Saturday morning. Hopefully you hit that coffee already, because we have a very, very exciting lineup today. We're starting as on time as possible. And the first session is going to be Dan Kuykendall here. Many of you will know him as the creator of the famous podPress plugin, which the majority of podcasters I've seen use with their WordPress blog to create a podcasting platform. And without further ado, Dan. So, BitTorrent, Kazaa, Skype, please turn them off. We're already like about 2/3 or half through our internet connection. So slow down, y'all.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm gonna move this a little bit, get comfortable. All right, so how many of you guys are familiar with podcasting? Everybody. Well, you know, it does go hand in hand with blogging. So what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about podcasting. It looks like a lot of you are familiar with it. How many are actual podcasters? A little closer? All right. You can't hear me. There you go. All right. So yeah, here's some screaming over there. Podcasters tend to be talkative folk. All right, so as you know, podcasting is very similar to blogging, just with audio or video. So, you know, it's still about getting your message out, right? It's, you know, with blogging, you guys are out there pumping out content, and podcasting is the same thing. It's all about content in consumable ways, same as blogging. It's, you know, when you go out blogging, you're trying to get out this content, and it's consumable in different ways via the feeds. And podcasting is exactly the same, just with audio and video content. So it uses the RSS2 feed like you guys are used to. The only addition really is this enclosure tag, and there's some other tags that we'll get into a little bit later. But this enclosure tag is what specifies the URL to the media file, the MP3 file or the video file. And these things are generally downloaded. So in a difference to your normal blogging, you know, usually the users are viewing the content online. There's not a lot of offline blog readers that I've been familiar with. But with podcasting, it is offline. People are consuming this data and using it wherever they want to. So that gets to be kind of a little more interesting. What's needed for podcasting? I'm going to actually go show you my gear here. Basically, all you need is a microphone, some software to record, the website to host this thing on, and something to say or play. You know, a lot of podcasters are doing music, you know, or producing video content, actual, fiction work of video, which is pretty amazing. But I'm going to go through my equipment here. What I've got, obviously, is I've got my laptop, and this is what I actually podcast on. This microphone. I think I spent $100 on it, and works great with a little pop filter. And this is an external sound card, essentially. So it plugs in USB and allows me to plug in the mic. And that's it. I mean, this thing costs another $100. I think I went $200 in, and I'm set. I'm podcasting. So it becomes a really inexpensive way to get your audio message out, and it's a lot of fun. Of this one? Okay, this is an M Audio mobile pre. So it's a nice little unit. I think it was like $100. It works great. I mean, it's another sound card to your system. It just plugs in, shows up as a sound card, and then I use this as the input device. My mic is I think it's an AKG Perception 100. Yeah, I've got my Atari logo over there, over the sticker, so that gets me in the mood. I'm a geek. What do I do? So all I do is, so I got my hardware, and then software-wise, okay, this is getting a little louder here. Software-wise, all you really need is some software to record on. And let's see if I can get out of the presentation here. There's some nice commercial programs out there that are available, but there's also free ones. So aside from the hardware, and you actually don't need, a big hardware setup like this. My main laptop, my Dell, has a built-in mic that's actually halfway decent, and I can record on that. There's also this program called Audacity, and it's available on Windows and Mac. Very cool tool. Mac also has GarageBand, which is even better. But, here's my mic. Let's see, let's go to my audio. So my recording device is my mobile pre. Very simple. And then I can just start recording. Okay, some sound waves there. Talk into the mic, which is what he wants me to do here. But all I do is I can record now. I record this thing, I save it off to an MP3 player or MP3 file, I upload it to my website, and then I got to tell WordPress about it, and I'm done. I've got a podcast out. I mean, it's really that easy. I guess your content is really the work, but any blogger is familiar with having to come up with content. And, the WordPress platform is really great for blogging and just getting that content out. And it ended up working really well for podcasting as well. So that's it. I mean, this is it. To get into podcasting, you're not really, making a major investment. You're just getting in there and having fun with it. Creating your intro, outro music, or whatever you want to do, coming up with your concept. It's whatever you're passionate about. I'm passionate about development. I do a lot of programming, and I do a lot of security work. So my podcast is about web application security and how you hack into websites, which is what I do for a living. So yeah, beware when I visit. Just to go back a little bit on my podcasting background, I got into podcasting early 2006, I think. Yeah, early 2006. It was a podcasting site called Podcast Alley, and I was using that, and it was pretty cool because, I was familiar with blogging, and blogging had already taken off pretty well. But, when you're a podcaster, you're recording. There's something a little more personal about it because you're actually, injecting your own voice, your own, part of yourself into the into the show. So, you really crave, as you do as a blogger, you really crave feedback. And Podcast Alley allowed people to vote for your podcast, and it ranked, you got this popularity contest going on. So I joined and started doing some development with Podcast Alley, and kind of rebuilt the entire, framework of the site. And they ended up getting bought by a company called Podshow, which a number of you may be familiar with. And I think our next speaker, Dvorak, actually works there. And my buddy Joe Engel works over there as well. So that site really became kind of the genesis of where Podshow came from. And there was a time, nowadays podcasting is built into iTunes, which is, great. It brings it to the masses in a really cool way. So, I helped out with aggregating the data from the site called iPodder.org and Podcast Alley, and pumped that off to Apple, which really seeded their database, which was a lot of fun. So I've been into podcasting from a pretty early stage, and just really been enjoying it. So I was doing this, and I started building up a podcasting website. And there was, I forget the name of it. There was some tool out there that was a specific content manager just for podcasting. And, no, it was its own site. iPodcatter was a plugin for WordPress, and I'll get into that. But there was this, whatever. It was a cheesy application for just podcasting, and you could put your title and your post and point to your media file, but that was it. It lacked all of the rich blogging interfaces and tools that were around blogging. So that's where I got into WordPress. I started, I had already kind of had some WordPress sites up and running, and I was like, WordPress has all these great features. And even though I'm just a podcaster, I don't blog much. I really just want a podcast. Having the functionality and the rich capabilities of WordPress became really attractive. So I saw it at the time as really being the best blogging platform available. And, I'm sure those who are attending here probably tend to agree. So I really loved it. And I ended up finding out about this plugin system. Right? WordPress allows you to write your own plugins. And I found podcaster, which, because at the time, when you're a blogger, I think your general RSS feed is good enough, right? I mean, what WordPress does by default is all you need, right? I mean, most of the people that are consuming your content via, I use my Yahoo page. It's actually where I get all of my other blog feeds, right? That's my homepage, and that's where everything comes in. So every blog I read is coming into my Yahoo page, which is awesome about blogging. But with podcasting, you have to point to the MP3 file, and you have to, if you want to look pretty and nice in iTunes, there's all these other RSS tags that are, extensions to the RSS format. So those were, complicated, and I had to try to figure it out and learn it. And I felt like I could learn it, I figured it out, but what about everybody else? So iPodcaster was kind of an initial plugin, but it kind of stunk. And, there's all these settings. You're like, how is that going to look in iTunes? Right? When I do all these settings, how is it going to look? So I got into WordPress, and I just totally enjoyed the platform. The plugin system is amazing. And so I've been, my plugin's gotten huge and kind of out of control. But it's because this great platform that we have in WordPress. So I was able to design podPress in a way that is very specific to podcasters. Podcasters can actually manage their feed in there. It handles all the complexities of these RSS tags, lets you see what it's going to look like on iTunes and the other podcasting websites. It's going to, adding the MP3 file is all very simple, and I support tons of formats. I've actually kind of gotten outside of just podcasting and just become a media player plugin. So if you've got any kind of media content that you want on your blog, podPress is going to handle it. So let's actually take a look at it real quick, and I'll show you what I mean. This is you're all familiar with this screen. Hello world. This is a default install of WordPress. The only exception is that I've added the podPress plugin. Simple upload like other plugins. And you guys can log in if you want. The site is demo.mightyseek.com. The username is demoadmin, and the password is demo. So just, don't put anything foul language up there, because when I get to the site, it's going to be a little embarrassing. But, now I just invited you all. Great. All right, who's got BitTorrent on?
The network said,
Blasted. Is it really? Oh. Yep. All right, good. You BitTorrent client users already killed us. All right. We'll come back to this then. Okay, so aside from how you're going to look in iTunes, and we'll get to that if the internet connection ever comes back up. I see a bunch of people moving around fast up there. The key thing is for podcasters, you want to be able to point to your MP3 file. But, there's some additional things that you may want to do in this. So what I've done, this may be a little hard to see here, But this is the normal, write post page. On the bottom is the section for the media file. So this is the podcast file itself. And what I've done here in this plugin is, let's see, it's a little hard to see, but let me see if I can mouse around here. No, I didn't click. Okay, the first thing on top is the media file. So you can point to an MP3 file, an AVI file, an MP4 video file, whatever you want. The internet come back up? Okay. You can. What did you say? I got hecklers already. This is terrible. What kind of conference is this? All right. So the first thing you do is you point to your media file, and then it'll auto-detect. And I've done all kinds of cool stuff in the plugin. The source has become huge. I mean, it's getting closer to matching WordPress itself, which has been interesting. We'll talk about that. But it'll auto-detect the media type, and you can put a little description for it. It'll then, I have, using there's this getID3 library for viewing tags of video files and audio files and all kinds of stuff. It's a fabulous library. I include that in here, and I'm able to detect the size of the file and the length of the media content. And that's really key, because within iTunes, it's going to display with all of this information. And so the more I can populate it, the better it looks. And then over here, this is going to be really hard to see, especially on this little screen. But in the blog post, normally you guys are using, you got your text in there. You got your blog text. Well, with podPress, it actually adds some additional stuff at the bottom of the post. Actually, you can control it, but by default, it's at the bottom of the post. And it adds the media players. So I've got all kinds of players included. I can support MP3 files, video files, whatever. I got players for most everything. The only thing I haven't fully finished is YouTube video support, but that's even coming. So, not even specific to just podcasting. If you're just a blogger that's doing, linking to any kind of media content, video, audio files, podPress is going to really help you, because even if you're not, again, a podcaster, so people aren't coming in with their podcasting clients, podPress will handle your media content, and it'll handle it very well. It'll give you a player. It's got the ability to play it inline. It can play it as a pop-up. You can hide the players. It gives you the download link. It's got support for built-in stats. I mean, it's got all kinds of really cool features. I don't know, how many of you have used podPress? Okay, just a handful of you. He's over there. He's excited about podPress. I've got a pretty active user community, and they're still mad at me because I got to get the forums back up. But it's not like WordPress. I mean, you guys are insane. I mean, there's so much content on WordPress.org going on, so much discussion. It's amazing. But podPress has really grown, and it's a subculture, I guess, of the WordPress culture. But anyway, so it handles presenting this to your blog in a really nice fashion. So just as a blogging tool, it adds a lot. And then, in addition, you can control which media file is going to be in the feed for the podcast if you want to do so. So I don't want to get too complicated in the technical aspects. I don't know if any of you care, but. And this is really hard to see. Again, I wanted to bring this up on screen live from the site, but the internet's down. What it's doing here, the first line that I've highlighted is the enclosure tag. And that's just the URL to the MP3 file and how big the file is, so that iTunes and others can predict without actually having to download the file. It has some iTunes tag, like the iTunes duration, how long this media is, how many minutes and seconds. And then some very specific iTunes tags, which really control how your podcast is going to be displayed within the iTunes Music Store, which is really cool. So let me see. Is the internet back up? No. Thank you, guys. All right. So this is podPress. It's a simple plugin to WordPress. You upload it in its own directory, and and that's it, right? I try to be a nice plugin, right? I mean, it's a bit memory intensive because it's a very large code base. I've had to really segment the code base and deal with a lot of efficiency issues because WordPress itself already takes up enough memory that I've got to kind of really stay in control. But simple, activate the plugin. It's going to add this menu, podPress. You come in here, and this is what your podcast would look like in iTunes before you really start configuring anything. So it's not all that great. But what I end up doing is all through here, like my cool logo, you can add all the information. You can pick your categories, and these are, again, kind of specific to iTunes, but are important so that people can find your podcast. And, if you're explicit, then you tag it. So anyway, in real time, it's actually updating this thing. And so you can now see what your podcast is going to look like in iTunes. It's the podPress demo, who I am, what category, what language, all that kind of stuff. It's all here. You can see what it would look like on Yahoo Podcasting, on Podcast Alley, on Podcast Ready. It's got, it's a pretty rich feature set here, and to really kind of give you a feel for what your show is going to look like, in other places. And this has actually been a big feature because it was one of these things where, there's all these complexities in the feed, and iTunes has this spec they've posted, or Apple's got this spec they've posted, and you've got to, so this tag is here, but what is that going to actually look like? And, it's kind of a pain. So I've tried to make this as really easy as possible. And everything is here. It's, again, all in real time. So let me see if I can actually give an example of that. The title, this is actually controls the blog. podPress is cool. It changes it live. So it's very cool. It's very dynamic, very cool little plugin. You can set where your media files are, what your if you want to have statistics enabled. What I've done, WordPress has actually got, it doesn't really give you a lot on statistics of your audience. And, there's a service through WordPress.org where you can actually watch the stats. And that's cool. But as far as the podcast itself and your media files being downloaded, you really have nothing through a default install of WordPress. Right? It's not what it's designed for. So podPress actually adds this. And I'll show you what it looks like. You actually can see your stats in a nice little graph. See all your downloads per episode. You can do it by date. See, this is going to come up. There we go. See it all in by date. I mean, it's pretty extensive. We've done a lot to really give you, if you want to just see it, quick counts. Shows you what what my download stats are for my podcast. Hey, 2,500, pretty cool. Even on your dashboard, it hooks in and gives you some of your stats summary here on the bottom. Right, so right when you jump into your admin, you get a quick little view of how people are also getting to your content. One of the things I do is I separate, are people getting it through a podcatcher, which they're going to be coming through the feed, or are they coming to the website using one of the online players, and or are they just using the download link off the website, and I get totals. Actually, that's pretty good. I podcast on, I always verge on pod fading, which is where people start podcasting and then they stop. I don't know if there's a term like that in the blogosphere, but, is there blog fading? All right, so once you get your podPress all nice and set up, you've gotten all the configurations that you want. We're actually doing some integration with Podango. That's coming along. So if you're using Podango to host your files, I can actually pull from your Podango account and see all of the media files you uploaded there and kind of integrate it and update their database with it. It's kind of nice. They've got a cool API for that. Maybe one day PodShow will do the same thing. But I can also support premium content. So this is a little different. I don't know if anybody's really doing this in blogging, but I've added the ability, and it actually works for the blog as well. This feature within podPress, in that it ends up tagging posts as premium only, and so then they actually get filtered out of the default feed. They're actually filtered right out of the feed, and they don't show up at all unless you go to the site under the podcasting feed. It actually adds a new feed, which is a really cool feature of WordPress in the hook system now. You can actually generate new feed types. So I've actually generated a premium feed, and that has all of the free stuff as well as the the ones that have been tagged as premium only. And so based on your WordPress account, normally a user is a subscriber. But when you're using the premium feed or premium features, it actually adds a new type of subscriber, a premium subscriber. So only an account with the premium subscriber rights would actually get that content. So not too many people are using it yet, but it's kind of I'm trying to support it and see how it's going to go. I'm just trying to make tools free and easy for people and see how it goes with that. But it's all possible. All right, so let's take a look here at actually adding a podcast. So I'm going to take the default post, the hello world. Hey, some people have been adding stuff. Hi, Secret. Yeah, my website is Mighty Seek. I went by the handle of Seeker for years and years and years, and I don't remember what happened, but I went somewhere and it was taken. The domain was taken. I was like, damn you. Nobody else is Seeker but me. But so I ended up having to come up with a new name, and I was like, you know what, I'm not just Seeker anymore. I'm Mighty Seek. So there's my logo. Actually, this is cool. This is my podcasting setup. I've kind of detailed it on the website. And I actually have links. So if anybody was interested in the equipment, okay, it is an AKG perception microphone. And I actually created this little sound box. It's actually just a crate with sound foam, and my microphone sits inside of it, like this. And it actually takes away the echo out of a room, without having to wall up the whole room with, the foam, or having to create a special, recording room. I just, I couldn't fit it in my bag, so I didn't bring it. But, airport security, this is bad enough. I bring a crate with foam, I don't know what they're going to do. So yeah, this is how I record, and it actually works really well. So this is my desk, and I got my little mobile pre down there, and it works great. I've got some audio example of how it sounds and how it takes out takes out the echo of the room, but you're not going to hear it off of my laptop. All right, so let's go to making this taking it from being a standard old blog entry, okay, hello world blog entry. Right here, I can go add media file. Boom, I can add as many as I want. I just keep adding them. But for now, I'll just do one. And what it's going to do here is, I'll do Baby Got Back. That's a great song. If you've never heard Jonathan Coulter, he's hilarious. Colton, sorry. I can put in the title if I wanted. If I could type. It automatically detected that it's an MP3 file, that it's a standard audio, compliant with iPods and whatever. Quickly checks the file size and the duration of the file. So it's a 5-minute, 31-second song. And it's going to show up in the RSS2 and the Atom feeds. RSS2 can only support a single enclosure. So if I were to add another file, and let's see, I'll do Code Monkey, another great song. You'll see that the RSS tag is not checked. So you can actually, it'll toggle. It's smart enough to make sure that you only got one on at a time. A lot of users go, what happened? I don't know how many forum entries I've seen of people saying, I can't tag multiple RSS2 entries. I'm like, well, you're not supposed to. So it tries to protect the user from themselves, and I know that's always an iffy thing in software development, but that's how it goes. And if your file is not locally hosted, you can actually type in a URL. And it'll handle that as well. So it's pretty cool. It does a lot. It really tries to make this as easy as possible for people. Now I'm going to go back up and save it. And now on the blog, I've got no script, so it always blocks things. But right now on the blog, you've got the media file. It could be any type of file. It could be video, whatever. It's going to handle it. And it gives you a nice little player. Again, you won't really hear this, but you'll see it start buffering and start playing the song. And this is actually from another plugin. I think it's called Media Plug. It's the Media plugin or an MP3 plugin from One Pixel Out. I actually snagged his. I give him credit for it, but I snagged his deal. Great player. Adapted it to my plugin needs. Can hide the player, play it now, play it in a pop-up. Again, I got no script enabled, so normally it would just play in a pop-up so that people can keep, browsing your blog. Very cool. A lot of cool functionality in this thing. Let me actually change this to a video file. I've been owned, apparently. I saw that there. Great. Security and, professional security developer has been owned right in the middle of the conference. Bad. Let's see what I got here. Here, Weird Al. White and nerdy. Box. See, now it automatically becomes a player now, a video player, and you can actually change the preview image if you wanted to, but use my default. Let's save that here. And now on your blog, you've got a video. And you can play it. It should just launch the player and start playing. So just as a media management tool, podPress is really valuable. So even if you're not into podcasting, but you got any references to media content, still a great tool. Now let's see if this thing can actually play. I got my browser all locked down. I should probably use IE for the demo, because there's no way to secure IE. It's hopeless. So anyway, hopefully this kind of gives you a sense of what podPress adds to WordPress. Again, it's just building on this platform. And I don't know how many plugin developers. I didn't look at the schedule very well, but I don't know how many other plugin developers are going to be talking. But if you're a developer and you're building plugins, WordPress is amazing. I mean, the amount of hooks that it provided me and allowed me to hook into, initially, actually at one point, and this is just, again, the evolution. I've been really impressed with where the WordPress development team is going. When I first started, there was certain things I couldn't do, like in the, I wanted to have that premium content feed, and I couldn't do it. So I was actually, along with my plugin, I had some replacement files. I actually had to have a replacement of the WP-RSS2 file. And I had a replacement for the category file in the admin, because I wanted to be able to do what I wanted to be called category casting. But over time, the WordPress developers, I don't even talk to them really. I mean, I hardly have interacted with any WordPress developers. I'm just doing my own thing. But they seem to just, I don't know if somebody told them about it or what, but they just seem to add these features and make it more and more capable. So, it's an amazing blogging platform and content management system. They've been doing a brilliant job. So what was I was about to do? Yeah, see, look, I've been owned. Jeez. Oh, look. Check it out, White and Nerdy. See? He's into Atari, too. All right. Yeah, he's going to just distract me the whole time. All right, let's just sit here for 5 minutes and watch. All right. All right, so anyway, that's about it. I wanted to kind of open it up a little bit to questions. I don't know if we have any questions from podcasters or are interested in features. But I've been really trying to focus, trying to keep in spirit of the WordPress community and trying to keep development going on actively, addressing user comments and feedback. Oh, yeah, actually, I was going to show you category casting real quick. This is kind of cool. Sometimes you'll organize your blog by categories, or you'll at least tag things with categories. And I know they're switching over to a tag system, and I'm still not entirely clear on that. I'm going to have to ask some people here. It'd be a good time to learn. But let's see, categorized. What podPress is able to do, and I don't know if any other plugins are doing this kind of thing, but I actually can have different settings per category. So I do category casting. So you can actually have multiple podcasts off of a single WordPress blog install. So if I'm doing my app security, I can have that as a category. And if I wanted to do movie reviews, I can still use my same site, but still segment my audience. And so then the movie review podcast would have a different category. And it ends up, you can get all your own settings for each category. Here's the defaults, but I can go and, I can use the global, or I can use the category name, or I can give my own, category. I can do anything I want here, and podPress is going to allow you to do it and segment it out by category, which is really cool. I got to figure out again the tagging system, but I'll keep in sync. I'll keep following the WordPress development. So what's Weird Al doing now? The captains. All right, so podcasters. We got any? Let's hear from some podcasters using podPress, and I don't want to toot my own horn. Oh yeah, okay, I do. But I just want to see what the user experience has been. I haven't really talked to many in person. I've done a lot of chats and forum support, but that's about it. Let's see over here. What's your name? Let's get the mic over there. I think he's podcasting this.
I'm Douglas. You ask my blog, you ask my podcast. Which one do you want?
The podcast.
Well, my main one is called PreviewCast and previewcast.com.
And what's it about?
Oh boy. Let's see. Well, we sort of generally put it in the area of technology. Actually, I do it with myself and a number of friends who sort of show up periodically on the show. And it is generally technology, but we have a tendency to sort of go off topic and goof off a bit. So it's kind of fun. Sometimes it produces funny results. Sometimes it produces kind of weird results. So it's a very big variety of episodes.
So how long have you been using podPress?
Actually, when I came to WordCamp last year, we had just restarted the show, and I was actually using FeedBurner. They had a podcasting thing, and I just heard people talking about podPress. I was like, okay, what's that? So it took a few more months before I actually found. So you could call more people online talking about podPress. I took a look at it, installed it on a test blog, tried it out, and I said, oh boy, this is so much better. There's just a lot more control over the podcasting thing. So we've been using podPress now since around November.
Very cool. Yeah, I've had I love to hate FeedBurner. I don't know how many times people say, oh, podPress isn't working, my feed's screwed up. And it's like, well, you're using FeedBurner and they're screwed up and they brought everybody down. So
actually, I'm using FeedBurner on top of podPress. It works just fine.
Yeah, they've gotten better. It's been a fun relationship. I don't know how many times I know FeedBurner can be used for blogs as well. I don't know if anybody would want to do that. It does reduce the load on your server, but at a cost. How many of you guys have been using other media plugins and kind of been, blogging and including media content either from YouTube or from your own production and not podcasting it? Quite a number. How have you guys been doing this? You're bring the mic over here. Yeah.
Waking y'all up.
Right here. So you've been doing media content without podcasting it?
Well, I've been podcasting it, but I've been. What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Like, okay, so you've been including media files in your blog?
Yes.
Okay. I've just been curious because I've seen a lot of blogs that are doing media content, but they're not podcasting per se. I've just been curious in terms of, at what point you become a podcaster. Are you doing media content all the time, or just sporadically?
Well, I'm a video blogger, so I might primarily have video on my blog.
But it's not available as a podcast?
No, I'm sorry, it is. But it also, I really focus on the blog being set up for the video and people going to the blog or getting an RSS feed. I don't really emphasize the pod part of it that much.
Oh, okay. Are you using podPress?
No, I'm not, no.
So have you ever seen it before?
Just a little bit. It's really interesting. It's got a lot of great features.
All right. Well, yeah. If you guys ever have any questions about it, the Mighty Seek site I've got tons of user areas. I'm bringing the forums back online tomorrow. I had to battle with vBulletin, but I've gotten that sorted out.
I've got a question. It's really, you've done a lot of really interesting and forward work, and I'm just wondering, do you monetize, and how do you monetize the really great work you've done?
No, it's just all been free. I've gotten, I get a lot of PayPal donations. It doesn't really, it hasn't entirely covered the cost of just the hosting itself. But, professionally I do app security for a living. So I spend all day breaking into websites I always feel it's good for me to just be programming and just kind of stay among the web developers of the world and not just kind of always be on the outside. So it's really just been an effort to just keep my skills sharp, really, and just have fun. And I love podcasting, so it became very natural to serve the podcasting community.
Hi, this is Jeff Hester. I've got a question for you. I am part of the Orange County Podcasters down in Southern California.
Yeah.
And about half the group probably uses, your software podPress. They swear by it. I've got a podcast that I've been, basically publishing outside of WordPress and podPress. I know. Any advice for switching over?
Yeah, it is kind of interesting, depending on how you've done it. And this is across the WordPress environment. It's not podPress specific. In that, how do you migrate from one platform to another, either something that you've been manually writing an RSS feed for, or any number of things. WordPress has a really cool import capabilities that I've absolutely not touched. And I have not done anything yet to importing podcasts. So I haven't really served you there. That's just a gap still. And I get the request a lot to be able to handle the imports. And again, WordPress has a good system for it, but I haven't. So you're going to probably have that suffering. We've done this a lot where people have migrated over because they've seen all these cool features of podPress, and they'll ask for features, and I'll keep adding stuff. But and this is a bad thing with podcasting. In the normal blog, okay, so the person sees your blog entry twice, big deal. But in podcasting, if you change over your feed and let's say iTunes doesn't really understand that it's the same content just migrated, they'll end up downloading the media files again. So you'll get this, double downloads of from all your users, which is kind of annoying. So there's not a good solution other than just to go for it. Sorry.
I'm a frequent user of podPress. I do love it. I just have one thing that I don't. I think you release a new version every week. And I'm wondering if maybe we could space that out a little bit more.
It's been a month since my last release. No, but yeah, okay. Because I've got a lot of full-time work. This isn't my full-time thing. It's just something I'm doing as a hobby. I don't have a nice formal QA process and all that kind of thing. And I don't know when the next time I'm going to be programming. Next time I'm going to have free time. So I just kind of do stuff, and I'll do like a night of hacking, and I'll get all this stuff done, and then I'll release it because I don't want to like just leave it there and not get it out. So there have been period of times where I've done like 4 or 5 releases in a week, which is really terrible, and shame on me. So yeah, I've had a lot of users kind of moan and groan, and I've got some users that haven't upgraded for a while because of that. But I do try to keep a decent upgrade path and try to make sure that I'm always converting stuff. Actually, that's interesting. I don't know, is there a system for plugins to automatically handle, because I have my own system for handling upgrades, but I don't know if WordPress offers anything to plugin developers to upgrade their database configs and all that kind of stuff.
So, sorry.
It's live.
It's very loud, and I will stand over here so it doesn't get feedback. Yes, that is something that in 2.3 we're going to have a system for the plugin to check the plugin directory and update itself if possible. But at the very least, notifications.
Very cool.
And as for database stuff, I would use the DB Delta function.
Okay. Yeah, I have my own system that I developed for this thing called PHP Groupware that me and Joe Engel built 8 years ago. And so I had that upgrade routines, and I use that. But I would like to have something from WordPress. So very cool. I actually recently changed over, and this is, again, phenomenal about how podPress has grown. But I recently had moved all of my hosting of my source code tree and the downloads over to WordPress.org in their new extend system that they did. And that thing's been really great. I've been happy with how it works. It's been good. And I was just completely blown away. I mean, I keep track of all my podPress download stats, and I can see who's downloading what. But moving it over to WordPress and seeing how actually popular it was really encouraging. So I like the system there. It was great. Allowed me to, I actually have, I guess for my own vanity, I actually keep track of all the downloads from each version. So you can actually see, my spikes. And look at these release dates. 24th, 28th. Well, there's a gap there. Well, that was a whole week apart. It's kind of been bad at times. But I do a lot of releases. I've tried to slow down as it's matured, but I actually keep track. You can actually see every change that I've done. I did software development professionally for a while, so I've got good habits. But this feature would actually be nice on the extends thing, is to be able to have a good change log system. But all right, any other questions? One more? I think you're too far for the mic.
What's a better question? I just had a question about video display inside the RSS feeds, and then scalability for when a lot of people start watching videos.
Okay, wait, I missed the first part of the question.
Video display inside the RSS feed, being able to watch the video inside the feed without visiting the site. And then if anybody's having solutions as to when a lot of people are watching the video, where you're sourcing that.
Okay, so the question here is there a way to view, let's say, a video from within the feed?
Yeah.
This is an evolutionary thing. The feed does have has the enclosure tag. So there's not a lot of, what do you call it? The aggregators. There's not a lot of aggregators that actually will play the content other than podcasting ones. So there's not a good capability there. I mean, it really becomes a podcast, and that would be the way to deliver it. But that is an issue, and I'm curious how long it's going to be before aggregators start really supporting it. IE7 actually does, in their view of the RSS feed, they'll actually have the link to the MP3 that they see in the enclosure. So that's taking us there. It's getting us closer. But most of the other aggregators, so if I'm using my Yahoo page, it's not going to mention the MP3 file at all. But over time, I think that's going to happen. As podcasting is more popular and people are hosting their media files within their feed, that'll be solved. As far as hosting, there's different services. Podshow, Podango, those do it. those are kind of podcast centric. There's also Libsyn, which you pay per meg essentially. So you'll get like 100 megs a month of storage, but it's unlimited bandwidth. So that becomes really cool. Got a question over here.
I don't have a blog live, but I do know where there's the secret sauce, which is unlimited storage and unlimited bandwidth for $50 a month.
Okay.
Lizardhill.com.
What?
Lizardhill.com. Don O'Neill.
Okay. So yeah, there's solutions for that. I mean, it is an issue. Hosting the media files on your own website, you're probably going to run out of bandwidth if your show gets popular. So you're going to have to find other solutions. There's not just a single answer to that. There's tons of hosting providers.
All right. Well, thank you so much.